Hello, my name is Captain Migraine, and here I have a version of Deck test for the new build of UT4. This build is new as of September 5th, and I'd like to talk about a few things about this version of Deck that I believe are either good or bad depending, and you'll also see me switch back to the Unreal Tournament 3 version of Deck, more specifically the version called Deck Pro version 2.1. Which is a version that I've been working on for UT3. It fixes a lot of problems. So for starters, we have this wall right here. You'll notice that it's kind of like concave a little bit. If you're not careful though, you'll fall down into this pit. In my version of Deck 2.1, this has been reduced to the point where you can actually walk straight across. Here you'll see I added like this little slanted piece. It's very subtle. It really kind of helps bridge this this gap right here, so that you can basically walk from this doorway straight over to the vials. And also you'll notice that even though there's a bunch of like pillars right here, it doesn't block your flow. You can actually strafe along this wall, and you can go right through the right along this wall, and you don't bump into anything. And that is because I have some additional blocking volumes here. Here we have some staircases by the Stinger. One of the things that may be bad is you can get kind of trapped in this corner here, which maybe that's a map-making decision, maybe that's intended. However, if you want to improve flow, you could try to kind of round this, get rid of these borders, these trims right here, and actually kind of make the staircase do like a 45-degree angle, so that you can actually walk up the staircase. Alright, so here you can see it looks very similar, and it does have the trim on either side, but what I've done is I've actually removed the collision on these trims, on these borders. But if you're walking along the edge here, you'll notice you strafe right up it, and even on this same side. Something a little strange that I'm noticing about this version of Deck is it has this gap-like area which you can actually fall down in, and you can crouch around in here. You can ambush people if you're kind of up in this area. Although I'm really not a big fan of ambush type gameplay. And also, like the previous version of Deck, which was in UT3, didn't seem to have this. But for the sake of trying to limit the amount of ambush type gameplay, I do think that this should extend up to the ceiling so that players cannot crouch into this little area here. You'll notice that this area up here is a little bit cramped, like it's kind of clusterish. You have these low-hanging walls. I'm not sure if you can actually... No, you can't crouch under those. But you can go under here, and you go under here so you can dodge over these windows. However, it would be a little bit less clusterish if this wall practically didn't exist, where it basically just have these pillars going straight up to the ceiling, and get rid of this 45-degree something. Alright, so in the UT3 version of Deck, you'll notice that these low-hanging walls have been completely removed, and yet you still have these pillars, this metal beam going up to the ceiling, so that is providing a teeny bit of cover. You also have these, which are providing a little bit of cover, and also blocking your your ability to dodge through them. So definitely there are some obstacles still up here, but overall the flow has been improved greatly. And also you can dodge straight off of this and go down to the health packs. And beforehand, the only way you could do that is you had to actually go through those pipes, or basically just go completely around. This wall actually kind of protrudes out a little bit right here, and this makes it a little bit difficult to walk and fall straight down onto this ledge. That may be intentional, or that may have just been kind of a leftover thing from the UT99 version. However, in the UT3 version, especially the Deck version 2.1, you can actually walk straight off of this and fall onto that ledge. And if I tried to do it now, I would most certainly fall down there. If you exit this teleporter, you can actually fall straight down onto this window, which I think is a very good thing, because beforehand this middle window is totally inaccessible, and now it's accessible, and you can choose between 3 different windows, which gives you the ability to kind of confuse your opponent. Also, because it protrudes out here as well, it also makes it a little bit difficult to get in these windows. It's not impossible. I've actually tried it. I'm not going to try it now because I'm pretty sure I'd fail. But definitely you can dodge from here and very easily land into that window there, probably even there. But up here towards the bio, if you tried to dodge off and tried to get into that window, you'd probably just fall straight down to the staircase, and that also will lead to some interesting tactics. So basically, if you're up here and you want to fall into that window and you want to put the pressure on the other players as they're trying to do lift jumps up there, you can be in this window and you can shoot a shot combo down, or you can even shoot one over there. Really depends on what you prefer to do. And here, as you can see in the UT3 version, these windows are basically very easy to fall into. I can just kind of walk right off the edge. Now I'm noticing in this particular build of deck for UT4 that there is a helmet here. I actually find this to be a very strange placement for a helmet. And the reason is because I think it has proximity issues, is because it's so close to this belt. You should never have a belt and another armor right next to the belt. It basically just gives one player too much power. So basically, if you're down here and you grab boots, and I'm going to attempt to get this on my first try. So you grab belt, and then you immediately go up here and you grab helmet. Well, that's, granted, helmet's not very much armor, but it is in such close proximity to the belt that I was able to just very quickly dodge jump, using the jump boots, land directly on that helmet, and I do believe that that's a major issue. I do not believe that the helmet should be here. I do find it very interesting for the old placement of helmet. I do think some players would be kind of thrown off by this. Some players actually don't even like this hallway. Personally, I love this hallway. I think this hallway should definitely remain in this version of deck. It definitely gives players the ability to flee that area and get flak and vials and basically get back into the game if they're in this very unfortunate side of the map. So I do like this hallway. However, I do think that having this bio here is a little strange. It's very similar to the UT3 version of deck. And it kind of matches the rest of the map. Every single weapon in this map has a partner. You have 2 shocks, 2 rocket launchers, 2 flaks, 2 snipers. The only one you don't have 2 of is the link gun, and I believe that's okay because that's kind of a centralized weapon in the map. So, but two bio rifles, yeah, that kind of matches. One bio rifle here, another bio rifle up there. I don't see anything too terribly wrong with that. However, I will say I really did like the placement of the helmet here. I think it made a lot of sense. I'm going to go ahead and go up here and talk about thigh pads now. In the UT3 version of deck, you had thigh pads up here, and I actually thought that was a really, really good placement for thigh pads. And the reason is because it takes a lot of effort to get up this ramp. So if it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort to get up this ramp. You might be fighting in the process, you might be taking damage in the process, and so by the time you get up to this ramp, your reward is basically 30 armor, right? Not substantial, not too overpowering. Definitely a very nice reward for being able to successfully make it up here. But I do understand why it might have been removed. It maybe having the thigh pads up here at the very top part of the map granted a camping sniping player a little bit too much power to be able to just snipe and grab thigh pads and go back to sniper or go over to bio rifle and basically just camp this whole area for days. However, 30 armor is not a lot. It's very easy to burn that off, and even a 20 armor, right? If you were to consider putting the 20 armor here, that wouldn't be too terrible. It wouldn't be too close to the belt because you'd have to use either 2 jump boots to get up here, or you'd have to use a jump boot and then walk the rest of the way up here to get to the helmet. So it takes a lot more time to get up here. This might not be such a bad placement for the helmet, but if you're not going to put an armor here, I would suggest putting something here, maybe vials, like 3 vials for instance, or 4 vials, something. And the reason is I do believe there should be some kind of reward for making it all the way to the high point of the map. Granted, some people might say, okay, sniper is the reward, bio rifle, not so much, that's kind of a crappy reward. But definitely, you get all the way up here and you've taken 2 or 3 hits on your way up, you're kind of in this crappy area, and you can just quickly dodge over here, grab this thigh pad, or if you came up the ramp, back up onto the thigh pad and take cover behind these crates. I do believe having something here is a very good idea. Heck, maybe even put vials behind these crates, because then that would give away player position, right? it's very difficult to know when somebody is hiding behind these crates. And if you were to just put a few vials here, then automatically the other player could use sound to kind of guess your position. And also, it also might be a little bit confusing too, because there are vials under here, which would also make prediction even that much more necessary. So a player might have to say, is he up there or is he at flak? Well, you're just going to have to use prediction and also have really good hearing ability to determine that. And I just did want to point out thigh pads right here on the UT3 version. You can definitely just kind of back up right onto it. Pretty good thigh pad. I really do like the placement of this armor. If it was a helmet, that would actually be okay too. This crate right here that's right next to the health packs. Some people may like that. I personally do not like that. I do believe this crate should be removed. And the reason is because it would make it a little bit easier to grab these health packs. It'd make it a little bit easier to get out of that little cubby area, so that you can either go to this 50 armor, or you can go to this lift on the right side. It'd make it easier all around to kind of land down there. I mean, it's not too difficult right now. You can kind of land on there, but it's a little bit awkward to kind of land on that crate. That in UT, every little millisecond is important. So if you're delayed getting those health packs by just a couple of milliseconds, that could mean your death. And so I do believe removing this crate would improve things in this area. It'd make it less of a clustered area. If you just stop and just kind of soak in the sight of what you're looking at here, there's definitely a lot to look at. You've got these pillars. This pillar right here is blocking things. You have to kind of strafe over to get onto the lift. So this is kind of in the way. This pillar's in the way. This crate's in the way. This crate's in the way. Again, these pillars. There's lots of stuff in the way in a very tight area. And I understand that it's supposed to be that way. But sometimes you do kind of cross a line. With having too much stuff in an area. These cross beams, this may be a bit of a tricky subject, because some people might like these, some people might hate these. Some people might say it just requires skill when you're doing lift jumps to basically time your lift jump correctly, so that you don't bash your head on these cross beams here. I personally think that these crossbeams should be removed. I definitely understand that would remove the ability for a player to jump on them and then dodge off of them. So it might make it a little bit trickier for a player to, charge rockets, for instance. I'm going to switch to rockets. Charge rockets and then dodge off, and then try and, get a, very quick and unexpected frag on a player who might be kind of idling in this area over here. So definitely these beams do provide a little bit of strategy, but at the same time they do impede your flow a little bit, and it makes this area just a little bit more clustered than I think it should be. But if you're trying to open your map up to players of lesser skill, or basically just new players, they're going to try to do a lift jump like this, and they might throw their timing off a little bit. And additionally, having this pillar, this crossbeam right here, really forces you to make a very predictable jump. So when you jump and you commit to that jump, you have to basically land here, or you have to land straight down on the ground down there, and it just really forces you into a predictable jump, which makes it very easy for the other player to counter with shock rifle. And so by removing this crossbeam, it does give you the ability to be a little bit less predictable. Your jumps don't have to be immaculate. You can actually kind of do an imperfect jump and be just a little bit out of range of someone's combo. Additionally, if you decide not to jump at all, which is I consider that a very effective strategy. If you decide to take this, now all of a sudden you have this beam that's blocking your view, which you have to jump, and it's just very kind of awkward to go from here and then try to land on this and then dodge across. It's just a very awkward set of motions that you have to perform. And so if you remove this crossbeam entirely, you would be able to just dodge straight across. And again, in the UT3 version, those beams do not exist in Deck version 2.1. And like I just showed, you could very easily, dodge across. You can idle for a second, then dodge across. It just opens up this area and makes it a lot more unpredictable for players to land combos. It really gives you a fighting chance. You're not forced into making certain motions. You have a lot of leeway to air control around and try to throw off your opponent. Alright, so something I noticed about this version of deck is you have these very low ceiling. This ceiling right here is a big issue. Now, if you're going to dodge, you have to really dodge from far away. You basically have to be right here and then perform your dodge. However, you're very unlikely to do that. You may grab the sniper and then attempt to dodge, and then see how I just smacked my head against the wall there. This ceiling right here, one way is you could just extend it to the top of that part right there, and that would solve that issue nicely. But as you can see in this version, there's a lot more room to dodge through here. It's practically impossible to hit your head on this wall here. I do like these crates. I think it's a staple of this map, having these crates like this and having the vials behind these crates. And I do notice that you can still walk behind these crates. However, I take issue with the placement of these crates just a little bit. Mainly, I think that they shouldn't be so offset like this. Like, if you notice, they are like really close to this edge, and it basically just makes it a crawl, kind of like a crawl space sorta. You don't have room to jump, you don't have room to dodge, you don't have room to do much of anything in these spaces. And I'm actually really not a fan of maps that have such small spaces like this. I do believe in choke points, but at the same time I do believe that choke points should have like a very minimal amount of strafing ability, and as you can see right now there's just very little strafing. And also, I do believe that these crates should be scooted over to right about here. And specifically to block line of sight to this flak. Now, the reason for that is if you take a look down here, there's a sniper at the opposite end. But I do think that there should be a blocked line of sight blocking the sniper from that crate. So if I switch to my sniper and I zoom in on this, see how I can snipe that flak. It's a very predictable snipe. You just wait for somebody to grab that flak and then you snipe them. And you don't necessarily have to block the sight entirely. You don't have to center these crates. You can still keep them kind of offset. Just block the line of sight a little bit. These crates are still kind of offset, like they're not perfectly centered, and you still have this area that you can walk around on the right side, and you do have like a lot more freedom to move around in here. You can dodge through here. You can very easily get through this space if you needed to. But more importantly, the line of sight to the flak is blocked, and the only way you can see that flak is if you strafe to the left a little bit, which would be no problem for a player with sniper. But then again, forcing that player to kind of strafe to the left puts them in kind of a hairy position. It puts them right next to this pit. Some players are in favor of completely centering the crates. Honestly, that's really not a terrible idea. But I do kind of like the idea of one side being more narrow than the other, because this side, it really adds variety to the gameplay, where basically if a player wants to do shot combos, they're more likely to do it on this side of the hallway. They're less likely to do it on this side, and so you can really kind of confuse your opponent simply because this side is more narrow than this side. It's actually not a bad idea having the flak on this crate, and the reason is because this crate provides a very important cover. So as you're approaching the top of this staircase, you're basically protected by this crate, so you can kind of strafe in this area here, kind of get into position. You can actually, in this version, you can actually walk right up to the flak, I believe, and you can grab that flak without even jumping. But you can also, you see, you can actually grab that flak without jumping. Which is a very valid tactic, by the way, because grabbing this flak without jumping means you're making less noise. So maybe it's worth considering putting the flak on top of a crate, because that crate does, add a little bit extra blocked line of sight. Alright, the infamous slime pit. I have something to say about that. Some people might say that they hate how fast you go through the slime pit. I'm actually gonna say I like how fast you go through the slime pit, but there are caveats to that. One of the biggest caveat is if you fall into the slime pit you may accidentally go underneath these walkways, and it becomes very difficult for you to get out of them. As you can see, I took a lot of damage as I was trying to get out of those walkways. But I'm going to go ahead and dodge through this slime pit, and you'll notice that I actually go quite far. And I really gotta say, I like that. I like the ability to go very far in the slime pit, because one of the major issues in UT3's version of Deck is when you fall into this slime pit, it takes you forever to get out of it. You become a very easy target when you're in the pit. So definitely being able to, you know, fly through the slime pit gives you a little bit of an edge. But being able to slide under these walkways can really put a dampener in your mood. And the solution to that, I believe, would be to just take these ramps and extend them, these walkways, and extend them all the way to the floor. That way, it's either that or just put a invisible blocking volume here that prevents you from going under this ramp. And also, it might be worth mentioning, I do think that the damage on the slime is a little bit much. One thing worth pointing out is in the UT3 version of Deck, there was a near 45 degree, it was actually less than that, it's like less than 45 degree ramp that went from here down into the pit, which allowed players to actually walk straight out of the pit. While in UT3 there was a bug that caused you to take like 1,000 damage as you're basically just walking out of the slime. But if you do add the slant, please make it so that you don't take 10 million damage as you're trying to climb out of the pit. And I did notice that you do already kind of take additional damage as you're trying to climb out of this pit. So I do think that the damage on the slime pit should be tweaked so that as you're trying to get out of the pit, you only take as much damage as you should, not extra because it glitched as you were trying to get out of it. In this version, if you're coming from the health packs and you want to get up this staircase, you either have to jump onto the staircase. Maybe you could like wall dodge up. Yeah, you can wall dodge off of that, you know, onto the staircase, or you can just walk around it to get onto the staircase. But definitely, you cannot walk straight up onto this staircase. Now, the reason why I think you should be able to walk up onto this staircase is because you may be fighting in this tight area. And you may be kind of, you know, backwards strafing or backwards, you know, running. And you may be trying to do like a backwards combo at the same time. Well, you're gonna back into this this staircase right here, and it's really gonna stop you dead in your tracks. It might make you miss that combo that you're trying to land. And also, I do think that should be it should be either the staircase should be at a 45-degree angle right here, so that you can walk up this. And the reason is because you're really at an extreme disadvantage when you're walking backwards, trying to, you know, either kill someone who's trying to land on the double damage, or somebody who's up here on that ramp and they try to dodge over here to try to snipe you or combo you. They really have the jump on you. They've got a lot of room to move around over here. They can even land on top of these crates and try to snipe you from the crates. They are at a very good advantageous position compared to you. And if you're on the run, the last thing you want to have to worry about is backing into things. Maybe get rid of these trims, these borders or whatever, or make them smaller. Definitely with this one. Notice how this one is practically coming up to like knee level, or I don't think it blocks you. Yeah, it doesn't block you, but you definitely feel it as you're trying to walk over it, and that can actually affect you a little bit negatively as you're trying to fall down to the flak. Maybe not so much. But at the same time, I do think that this one should be lowered slightly so that it's more flush with the staircase, and would basically just make this whole area look better. And it'll also make it a little bit easier to get out of here. So basically you walk up here and you do a jump wall dodge and you try to land up there. If this thing wasn't in the way, then you'd be able to do that a lot easier. Alright, so here's the UT3 version of the staircase. You'll notice that I didn't do that 45-degree angle thing that I talked about. However, it's still there technically with blocking volumes, so you can still walk up this no problem at all. If you're backing up, you just walk right up the staircase. Very fluid. Very good flow here. You'll notice that this wall does not have that bump in it, so you can strafe along the wall and just, you know, get up here, get to where you need to be to try and avoid getting killed. And also right here, again, It's you know, out of sight. It doesn't block you. Makes it very easy for you to fall down here on flak. And as you can see, it's actually kind of smaller on the upper half, and it's bigger on the bottom half. So you can, you know, jump, wall dodge, and land out of there very easily. I am noticing there's something very odd about this gigantic slanted wall right here. Mainly that it's very close to this ramp. If you're going down here to get this flak, you're putting yourself at like an extreme disadvantage. You're surrounded by bio on all sides, and as you're trying to get out of this bio pit, you're putting your back up against this wall, which can make it very easy for a player to kill you with splash damage off of that wall. So if I had a rocket launcher and I fired spread rockets at this general area, and I were to miss, I'm still going to get a ton of splash damage off of these walls. Maybe if this slanted wall were kind of pushed further to the right, so that my back isn't so close to the slanted walkway, and as I'm trying to get out of here, I can take less damage as I'm trying to get out of this pit of horrible death. That might be a slight improvement to this area, because as it stands right now, there's very little penalty for the player that's up here, raining death down on you, and there's an extreme amount of penalty for the player who's trying to get out of this pit of death. So maybe that change is worth considering. And also this staircase over here by rocket launcher, if you're trying to walk up this staircase and you're like right up in the corner, you get stuck on this this trim right here of the staircase. Obviously that's because, you know, the staircase isn't angled right here. It doesn't have a blocking volume, so maybe this could be fixed very easily with a blocking volume. One of the things I'd like to say about this version of Deck is I did notice that you can wall dodge off of these slanted walls. That is very cool. I really do appreciate the ability to dodge off of these slanted walls. I did add blocking volumes on the sides here, so that you can actually strafe along these walls, and you're not you know, falling into that little concave or that crevice or whatever you want to call it, and that allows you to wall dodge off of these walls very easily. And some may say, oh, that is a drastic change to the map. That really changes the way the map plays. But at the same time, I do think that the added ability to wall dodge off of these slanted walls is a good thing, and being able to do that in UT4's version of Deck, I believe, is also a good thing. So definitely, I gotta say, I like the ability to dodge off of slanted walls. Notice how in this version of Deck, these ceilings are very low. They're so low that you can't properly do jump boot jump in this hallway, and maybe that's intentional. But I do think it's worth pointing out that in the UT3 version of Deck Pro, specifically Deck Pro, you're able to, you know, dodge across and you activate your jump boots and go just flying through this hallway, and that's actually kind of an interesting strategy, because when you're in this area right here and you're trying to go over there to get to the either the rocket launcher or the 2 health packs over there, dodging across like this will get you sniped for sure if the other player has really good aim. And it's even more crappy if you have to do that twice, which is what you have to do. So you have to dodge across twice, which gives the camping, sniping player 2 opportunities to snipe you. You can actually kind of, you know, fly through the air very easily. You can air control around this hallway. You have a lot of freedom. And if you're low on health and you want to get over to that hallway over there, that health, and you know the other player is scoping you, like they've got their sight on you, they're getting ready to snipe you, you can actually avoid that entirely by doing this maneuver. And granted, I did land in front of that doorway, but if I had an extra jump boot, I could have activated it right here, jumped, landed right here, and then I could have done it again, or I could have just dodged straight across. So I could have essentially reduced the number of opportunities for him to snipe me to either 1 or 0. And the same could be said about this hallway here, but let's say that you're at Sniper, and you really need health, you're trying to get away, so you backwards dodge, and you activate your jump boots, and you land right on these vials. The only reason you're able to do that is because these ceilings are so high. Another thing I wanted to mention is I noticed in the UT3 version of Deck, the slime pit had this really obnoxious yellow bright golden yellow glow on the slime pit. Obviously, the slime pit is green in this video, and that's because in this particular version of Deck Pro, I've actually modified the material so that I could remove that green, that bright yellow, gold, white glow. And the reason is because it makes it easier to see your shot combos as you're trying to aim down at this belt. So if you're trying to kill someone as they're trying to, you know, jump boot up to the belt, plant a shot combo, you can still very easily see your shot core through the slime pit. I think that all staircases should have a triangular blocking volume on them. So basically, if I'm walking up this staircase, I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, I'm kind of bumping up these stairs, like bump, 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 bump. If there was a blocking volume on that was in kind of the same shape as this border trim right here, and it extended all the way across, you wouldn't feel that bump, and it would also have to be kind of like flush with the floor, so as you're walking up the staircase you don't feel that bump. Additionally, I do think that blocking volume should have block weapons on it, so not only does it block player movement, but it also blocks weapon projectile explosions and flak, you know, flak shards and stuff like that. Because of the angle of the stairs, the flak actually comes right back at me and is prone to killing me. And even here, it could happen here. It could happen, you know, pretty much anywhere where there's a staircase. And so a lot of times what I will do is I'll put that blocking volume over here with block weapons, and so the flak will actually ricochet upwards, avoiding both players, or it'll ricochet into the next room. And it basically just makes it to where you're less likely to kill yourself on the staircase, and also makes projectile splash radius explosions a lot more predictable, especially in the case of rocket launcher. Now I realize this map right now is made almost entirely out of BSP, but I imagine at some point this staircase will be replaced with a static mesh staircase. And one of my biggest pet peeves is being able to shoot in between the stairs. You know, when you shoot between the stairs, the rocket gets trapped in that staircase, the splash damage gets trapped in there. What could have been a surefire death has now basically just turned into the lottery for the other player. That player got away without a scratch. And so if you were to put blocking volumes with block weapons, and they were smooth, you know, triangular, slanted blocking volumes on every single ramp, that would eliminate that completely as a problem. But anyway, I believe I've talked about everything. If I remember something that I haven't talked about, I'll be sure to make it in another video or just post it on the forum. But overall, I think if you're going to use this version of Deck, some of these changes need to be considered. If you're not going to use this version of Deck, or if you're making one from scratch, hopefully this video was useful regardless. These suggestions will have a positive impact. In my opinion, I believe they will have a positive impact. And overall, I think some really good suggestions worth considering. So this has been Captain Migraine. Thank you for listening.